Today, we are going to be ranking every single first-party Nintendo Switch game, and I have had a little bit of a caveat here. This not ranking portion right down here is all of the games that either one, I have not played before, or two, I genuinely just do not have any opinion on, or I don't even think it really should be on this list. Like another Code Geass, I suppose that is also a first-party Switch game, but you know, I just have nothing to say about it. And then the Bayonetta series, I have not played before. The Kirby games, I truly don't care about. All of this other stuff, I'm not even sure. Like Stretchers, I don't think this is actually a first-party game, but whatever. We are going to be going in backwards order. It's listed here in terms of year that these games have released. So I am going to be starting in 2025 with Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Now, this game, I truly am having a really hard time with this because I just started this game. We're going to put this here for now. I just started the game. I have not played it before. This is my first time ever playing Donkey Kong Country Returns. I played Tropical Freeze, obviously, back in 2018 when it released on the Switch, and also back on the Wii U in 2014, and I love Tropical Freeze a lot. I just started Returns. I'm about halfway through it. It's surprisingly short. I think it's a good game. Every level has been really amazing, but for what it is HD on the Switch, I don't know exactly my thoughts on it, but overall, I think I'm just going to keep it in C tier. It is a very, very good game, but I might end up going back and forth on these, moving them around a little bit later, but for now, we're going to put it in C tier just because not only is it a phenomenal game, but it's like the third time that we have gotten this game, and for $60, I just think the context around these games are also very, very important. This list is a little bit of objectivity and a little bit of subjectivity, so this is me being nice to all of the people who definitely don't think this game should be any higher than C tier. Moving on to 2024, because that is all of the first-party games that have released this year so far. Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming out in March. So, backwards, we've got Mario and Luigi Brothership, and this is a very, very difficult game for me to place. I truly had a bad time with this game. Like, I started it out and it was phenomenal. I loved it. It was so much fun. I enjoyed just having the opportunity to play a Mario and Luigi game. Everyone was so hyped about it, and it got really weird review scores. Like, the vast majority of people called it a great game, and it was phenomenal. But then obviously the IGN stuff with 5 out of 10. And my review, I don't know if this video will go before or after my review, but you will find out in that video. I was just not a fan, and I'd never even finished the game. So I am going to have to stick to my guns here. I am going to put it in C tier just because of objectivity. I think a lot of people really love this game, but for me personally, it's not good enough to where I could put it over any of these other games. And yes, I am putting Donkey Kong over Mario and Luigi, so this isn't just, straight tier. If I'm putting this in front, I think it's in front. If I'm putting it behind, I think it's behind. So Brothership is definitely behind. Moving on, we have Mario Jamboree. I am so in love with this game. This is probably the best Mario Party game we have ever had, and that is saying something because there have been a lot of Mario Party games over the years, but on Switch specifically, we have had struggles with Mario Party, and it kind of got back on track with Super Mario Party, Mario Party Superstars, but obviously y'all know the story. Mario Party 10, Mario Party 9, all of those games were horrible. ND Cube took over. They're now named Nintendo Cube. They changed the name of that studio, and they got to work, and they were like, you know what? No one thinks that we can do this. No one thinks that we can make a new original Mario Party. Let's take the roots of the series and everything new we've been experimenting with and put it in this game, and they did a phenomenal job. The only critique I would probably have of this game is that the minigames are just kind of not boring, but there aren't as many of them as you would think. I think they advertise there's over like 100, 150, but if you take out the motion control ones, the 2v2, 3v3, or however many, like if you just take out all of the ones that are generic and that you would probably never play, then you don't have a lot left over. I've played a lot of the Mario Party modes where like you're just going across the board and then you have another minigame, and it feels like after 3, 4, even 5 stereotypical Mario Party rounds, you get really tired of the minigames. So it's a phenomenal game. I'm putting it in A tier, definitely A tier, but I can't put it in S just because it's not as phenomenal as some of these other Switch games. Moving on to Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. This is also an incredibly hard game for me to place. I wasn't as big of a fan as everyone else was on launch. I didn't think it was I don't want to say innovative because it's not that it wasn't innovative, but it just felt like it was a very play it safe Zelda game in terms of this is Zelda's first outing. And I wish, a lot of people said, oh, I wish that we just could have had a sword. I wish we could have played as Link. And I think it's really cool that they actually had Zelda play as the main character in this game. The story was fine. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. I loved the Yeti guy. He was so adorable. All of the other places were just kind of like, stereotypical Zelda characters and Zelda NPCs. The game was fine. The ecosystem was kind of a pain because you would just find one enemy that was really good and just use him over and over again, or it's like the same thing for like traversing the land. Like you would just find one thing that you liked and use it over and over again, unless there was a very specific obstacle that called for a very specific echo. I just think that the system was meant to be used to where you get more out of it and just like using as many echoes as you possibly can, but they didn't seem to think that through very well because I don't think hardly anybody experimented with the echoes, especially considering the slider system was so bad. So I'm not going to say this game is bad. I'm not going to put it in C tier. I think I'll put it in B. I think this is a B tier game. I think I was a little hard on it in my review. Initially, I think it was too hard on it, but then I went back and I played on it a little bit more, and I think it's a solid entry. It's a very good game. I just wouldn't consider it one of the best or an A tier type game, so B is where it will sit for now. Moving on, Emio the Smiling Man, the Detective Famicom Club, whatever those games are called. This game was phenomenal, and I know a lot of people probably did not pick it up, but the marketing around it obviously was ingenious. This game, it really got a lot more eyes on it because of the marketing strategies that they used, and so I am really glad that a lot of people seem to have bought it and enjoyed it. It was a phenomenal game. The story is amazing. I never would have expected some of the plot twists and turns. I am also going to put this in B tier, not above Zelda for now. I might go back and change that, but it was a phenomenal game. Moving on, we have the Nintendo World Championship NES Edition. Listen, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. This game is fine. I'm sure, for what it does, it is good. It's not a bad game, so I'm going to put it in D tier. It's probably going to be close to the bottom. You know what? I'm even going to put it in F. I'm sorry. If you really love this game, I'm sorry. It's just an F tier game compared to a lot of these other ones. I'm not a huge fan of the NES graphical style, and it's fun for what it is, and I'm not saying it's a bad game. But for me personally, and just for I think a lot of people, I don't think there's a whole lot of games on this list that most people would pick to play rather than this. So, NES Edition, I'm sorry. World Championships, I am not going to put you any higher than F tier. Then we have Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. This is a hard one. Again, it's like, it's a great game and it's a fine game, but like, how could you put it higher than some of the original games that aren't HD versions, that aren't, $60 from a decade-old game on a 3DS? Like, I don't know. It's very difficult. I like the game. It's probably the worst in the Luigi's Mansion series. I don't think it's a horrible game, so I can't put it in D tier, but I will put it at the bottom of C tier. Moving on, we have Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door remake. This game is phenomenal. It did not actually connect with me as much as I thought it would. It's a great game. A lot of people love it. It didn't sell as well as many people thought it would either. I think the Origami King is still quite a bit away from this game in terms of sales numbers, so that was probably surprising to a lot of people. But the Thousand Year Door just did not seem to resonate with people as much as some of the other games. So I am going to put it. I think it's a C tier game. It's a better game story wise, but for the Switch, for it being a remake that didn't add a ton. Like, yes, they remade all the assets and that was amazing. I think I'm gonna put it over Brothership, but behind Donkey Kong Country Returns. I know, it's a little cluttered, but we will come back and fix all of this at the very end. I do think this game was better than Brothership, better than what Luigi's Mansion 2 HD gave us. I think I gotta put Luigi's Mansion over this too. People are gonna be upset at me for that. So yeah, I'm not a fan, but it was a good game. We'll just leave it at that. Endless Ocean Luminous. This game is an F tier game for me. It promised something that it really could not uphold. The graphics were not that good. This is the kind of game where you just want to be super impressed by the graphics because you're searching for all of these different types of fish and different creatures under the water. And I believe the gimmick of this game is essentially just like the ocean is always different every time you play. It's like randomly generated in some ways, but it just really missed the mark, and I can't help but put it in F tier. Moving on. Princess Peach Showtime. I am not ashamed to put this in D tier. It's not an F tier game. I would never. I think I'm reserving F for the games that are like, I just would never ever play again. D tier, at some point I might come back to Princess Peach Showtime and be like, oh, let's see what they had here. Let's see if there were any good ideas now that I know that it just ended up being a very, very watered down version of what could have been a really cool idea. But I just don't think that it was that good. Some commenter pointed out to me in a video previously that it was made by the Goodfield team, which is the team behind a lot of the Yoshi games, and I believe some of the Kirby games, which makes a lot of sense. That team seems to be developing a lot of games for a very young audience, and this game really, really did not seem to appeal to anyone over the age of 8 years old, in my opinion, so it just wasn't fun. It wasn't that good. Graphically speaking, I was very unimpressed with it as well. So yeah, it's a D tier game in my opinion. Moving on to Splatoon 3 Side Order, and yes, this list does have some DLC in it because a lot of these are just genuinely could be standalone on their own. I think Side Order probably would go in A tier. I loved Splatoon 3 Side Order. It was a phenomenal take on the actual gameplay of the series. I don't think it has ever been done before in Splatoon. A roguelike series to have this gameplay. It was phenomenal. I really enjoyed all of the different levels going up and up the tower until you get to the boss fights, and then dying over and over again, and then restarting with a different slate. Like, that is such a cool idea for the series, and I hope that they continue to innovate in that way, because Splatoon could obviously have so much more potential outside of its initial gameplay loop. So yeah, that is where I put it, A tier. Moving on to Mario vs. Donkey Kong. This game, graphically speaking, looks so much better than a lot of people give it credit for. I think it's only $50, which I will applaud Nintendo for actually putting their games at a discount price compared to a lot of their other ones. This game would not be worth $60. For a $50 installment, I want to put it in B tier because of how good it looks, and it's unapologetically exactly what it is, but I can't help but put it at least in between Donkey Kong Returns HD. I just think that's a better game overall compared to what Mario vs. Donkey Kong is trying to do. So C tier is where I will place that, and I think you can see a theme here. 2024 was a breather year for Nintendo. They put out a lot of first-party games, but not all of them seemed to have been their best efforts. Moving on to 2023 now, starting off with Xenoblade Chronicles Future Redeemed. Now, man, if you know anything about me or this channel, you know I am a massive Xenoblade fan. This is A tier, regardless of what anybody says. I am counting this as DLC because genuinely the storyline is so big and so long, and the locations are so in-depth that it genuinely could be its own game, similar to how Torna, the Golden Age, was also released on its own. This could have done the exact same, and I would have paid for it just as much as I would have if it was DLC. So, a phenomenal game, phenomenal campaign. It wrapped up all three games perfectly. I don't know if they're going to continue the story of 1, 2, or 3 in the next Xenoblade game, if there even is another one, which I really hope there is, but if this was the last bit of it, I think it wrapped it up phenomenally. Moving on to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is the epitome of fun. This game, they truly went back to the drawing board here. Mario Bros. Wonder, it really looked at what the 2D series had been and said, no, we need to be better. We gotta make it more funky, make it more fun, make them more lovable. And now that we have the Switch 2 reveal and the Mario Kart trailer shows off the new design of Mario and Luigi, Donkey Kong, all of these characters just look more cartoonish. And in a way, I think a lot of people aren't going to be super happy with that because how 8 Deluxe made the characters look so realistic. And for me, apparently, I was like, oh, how in the world are you going to make 8 Deluxe look any better in a next installment? But I think the way you do it is just by going back to your roots, redesigning the characters, making everything just more fun at its very core. And that's what they did with Wonder. They truly took the formula and said, how can we make this amazing for a modern game? So for now, I am going to put it at the top of A tier. I might move it up to S later on, depending on what we've got. I need to fill out the S tier a little bit more, but I'm reserving it for the best of the best. So, moving on once again to Super Mario RPG. This game, man, I loved this game, especially when it first came out. I was like, I wasn't super into the idea of playing it. But then once I actually sat down with it and started to get into it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually kind of captivated by this gameplay loop And the story was fine as well. I mean, obviously, Mario isn't going to be telling the best narrative story ever that's going to make you cry, and sometimes it will, but it's not going to be super deep and complex. But this is about as good as you could ever expect from a Mario story, especially considering how RPGs are nowadays with Mario. So I love this game. The gameplay loop is great. It's finally amazing to have an SNES game remade into a modern graphical style. I am actually going to put this up in the A tier. I'm going to put it at the top of B. I think bottom of A is a little too much. I might fix that later, but this seems right to me. Then moving on, we have Kirby. This game, this shouldn't be here. I have not played that. I apologize. Fire Emblem Engage. Oh, man. The gameplay loop, this is probably one of the best games in terms of gameplay, in terms of the entire Fire Emblem series, but the storyline was so disappointing and just kind of bad, in my opinion, especially compared to the masterpiece that was Fire Emblem Three Houses. The art style was obviously a lot better in that game, and obviously the graphical fidelity and just all of those things with Fire Emblem Engage, they figured it out much, much more than Three Houses. Three Houses is probably one of the ugliest first-party games that we have, and yet it's one of the best first-party games that we have, so I can't help but compare the two, especially considering they're the only two Fire Emblem games that I have personally played. Engage, I'm going to have to... bottom of C tier seems a little bit too much. I don't want to put it in D tier, but the story was so bad. This is hard for me. This is really hard. I'm going to put it bottom of D tier. No, C tier. It's C tier. It's C. Okay, it's C tier. I will keep it there. I don't want to hurt Fire Emblem fans too much. The gameplay was phenomenal. It just wasn't good outside of that. Moving on. F-Zero 99. Man, this was a fun game, but it really fell off for me after a while. I really don't have a ton to say about it, to be honest. I think I'm going to put it in D tier. It was probably... I'll put it above Princess Peach. I was not a fan of Showtime. F-Zero 99, yeah, that seems right about there. I think a lot of people enjoyed it, especially just having any sort of F-Zero game at all in the year 2020, 3? Are we in 2023? Yeah, especially in the year 2023, like, we have not had an F-Zero game in such a long time, so I am excited to have an F-Zero game on the Switch that is brand new, and obviously they did the same kind of thing with Mario 35, which we'll get to later, and then Tetris 99, which was a good idea. But the longer I played this game, the more I was just like, it's fine. Like, for what it is, it reminds me of the NES Championship Edition here. For what it is, it's fine, but personally, I just am not a fan. So, moving on to Advance Wars 1 and 2. This was one of the best strategy games on the Switch. I highly enjoyed it. I don't have a ton to say about that outside of that, so I'm just going to put it in B tier. We have a lot of games to get to. WarioWare. Both of the WarioWare games on this list are just not for me. I do not enjoy this series as much as some other people do, and it's always so incredibly short that it makes me wonder why I even bought it in the first place. I think this is going to be another D tier game below Princess Peach Showtime. The series does not click with me. If it clicks with you, I apologize, and I hope you continue to enjoy these games, but I'm not a fan. Moving on to Metroid Prime Remastered. Man, this game is phenomenal. We might have to consider our very first S tier here. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the remake itself. For a remake, this is the golden standard. Nintendo, take notes from Retro Studios here. I believe it was Retro that did this remake. Take notes. This game is gorgeous. It looks so amazing. And the gameplay, it feels like a brand new game. Honestly, it feels so smooth. The mechanics are still phenomenal. I mean, I cannot tell you how much this game makes me want Prime 4 Beyond coming later this year, hopefully, unless there aren't any more delays. But it's just an amazing game, and I can't believe that we have waited so long for Prime 4 and so long for any other installment in the series. I'm so excited to have this on Switch. It looks great, it plays great. I think this has to go A tier, right above Mario Party Jamboree. Moving on to Pikmin 4. This game is definitely the first S tier game. Pikmin 4, man, this game is special to me. I love the Pikmin series, and I picked up every single game right around the time this was announced, and they decided to shadow drop 1 and 2 on the console as well. And I had played 3 previously. I had picked up that game, and 3 didn't click with me as much as I was hoping it would, but it obviously was a phenomenal game. I saw it all the way to the end of the credits. The final boss of that little golden goopy guy That was a really tough encounter, actually, and it made me crave for a modern-day Pikmin game that really refined the series to its core, and just graphically I knew they could make it look so much better, because Pikmin 3 already looked phenomenal on the Wii U, and then it looked even better on the Switch, so I knew if they had made a game from ground up with new mechanics and such, that it would be amazing. And Oatchi is phenomenal as well. I love Oatchi. Playing as him, upgrading him, a lot of people will say, you know, he kind of broke the series in a way, but I totally disagree. And if you think that, honestly, you can just not upgrade him. Like, the option is available to you to just not upgrade him at all. So I love Pikmin 4, S tier game for sure. Moving on to Pikmin 1 and 2, I think I'm going to do them at the same time. Pikmin 1, we'll start with this. I adore Pikmin 1. It's probably my second favorite game in the series. I will put it in the bottom of A tier. It's phenomenal. It's a great introduction and honestly still holds up today. I truly enjoyed playing this on the Switch, especially just anywhere, anytime. The whole Switch thing, playing it wherever you want is amazing. And the game, graphically speaking, GameCube games just look good. Like, they already look good. So if you can just up-res them to HD, throw them on the Switch, throw them on the Switch 2, whatever's coming next. Seriously, just do that more, Nintendo, and people will buy it. Like, I'm still holding out hope for that Luigi's Mansion HD port, but we shall see. This is an amazing game. Bottom of A tier. And then Pikmin 2. Surprisingly enough, for Pikmin 2, I did not enjoy it as much as all the others. I finished Pikmin 1, 3, and 4. I did not finish Pikmin 2. I played Pikmin 1, I adored it, I loved it, I was so ready for more. I jumped into 2, and it was just so different. It was so different. I got about halfway through probably. The cave system was fine. Like, I played a bunch of the game, I just never finished it, so it's always shocking to me though, because I feel like Pikmin 4 actually ended up taking more from 2 than it did 3 or even 1. And so I love Pikmin 4, and I think they refined that game in a better way than 2. But 2 was not my favorite, but it wasn't a bad game per se. So I will put it right below Brothership, but in between Engage. Yeah, that's a good spot. Moving on to, oh man, Tears of the Kingdom. I just did a video talking about the weight of expectations. I believe this game released and people just were expecting something that truly was never going to ever exist. If you went into this game expecting it to be completely different than Breath of the Wild, to fix all of your problems with that game, rather than, you know, being a sequel, doubling down on the original, and refining it to its core, then you were going to be disappointed, because this was just a better Breath of the Wild in every single way. All of the mechanics were totally different. They took Magnesis and they said, you know what, it's cool to pick up stuff with metal. How about we just pick up stuff no matter what it is? You can pick up anything with Ultra Hand, stick it together, make vehicles, all that stuff. The runes are totally gone, but they're obsolete, honestly. You can just take an ice flower and make ice blocks in the water. Like, everything you could ever want from Breath of the Wild, I still think is in Tears of the Kingdom, plus more. So this is my first, no, it's the second actually, the second S tier game. Pikmin 4 or Tears of the Kingdom? That is so hard. I'm going to put Pikmin 4 over Tears of the Kingdom, actually, just because of emotionally speaking. Like, I believe Tears of the Kingdom probably is better overall, but I think Pikmin 4 connected with me personally more, so I'm going to put that over Tears of the Kingdom in S tier. And this list is starting to look good, so I'm happy to at least fill it out. I know a lot of videos will be like, oh, you know, it's just all C tier or all B tier, and it's like, what are you talking about? You need to fill out this whole thing. 2023 continuing on in the final two games. Detective Pikachu is a D tier game. I don't have a lot else to say about that. It was just fine. The 3DS game, the very first game, I think was better. The amiibo that released with that was so much fun. I don't think this game did. I mean, it just kind of came and went, didn't it? No one really talked about it. It was just fine. I think they could have done a lot better with it, especially considering they made a whole movie surrounding the idea of a Detective Pikachu. But nope, this is just how it ended up. So, Game Freak, you really missed out on an opportunity there. And the final game of 2023, 1-2, everybody 1-2 Switch. Oh man, obviously this is the next S tier game, right? No, F tier for sure. Worst game. I don't even want to talk about this anymore. Moving on to 2022. Ooh boy, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This will serve as both games, and I'm going to be honest with you, I have never played a Pokemon game, but I have seen all of the reviews, all of the people playing it. I've seen a ton of videos about all of these Pokemon games on here. That is why they are still on here, and I will give my opinions on them and where I believe they stand. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. The gameplay loop I know is phenomenal. Open world, it was so much better than all of the other types of games before. I know Pokemon Arceus really connected with a lot more people than Violet did. This game, graphically speaking, is just inexcusable. It looks horrendous, and the graphical issues, the buggy mess that it was when it released, I mean, come on. This is the highest grossing franchise ever. So put more money into making either a bigger team to help develop it, or just give your developers more time to do what they want to do. And I hope that's what they're doing with Pokemon ZA, because a lot of people were complaining, like, oh, it's been a year since we've heard about Pokemon ZA. But I'm like, are you serious? These same people would complain if it released and was horrible, and now they're complaining that they're taking their time. So pick a side, really. Come on. Violet, at its core, it's got a decent game there, but I cannot excuse graphically this game, so I'm going to put it at the bottom of C tier. I'm sure it's better to a lot of people who love Pokemon, but nope, not for this list, not for me. Moving on to Splatoon 3. I adore this game, and I think they took every single thing from Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 1, and they made it better. They refined it. It looks amazing, graphically speaking as well. The ink just looks it just looks amazing. Like, I cannot even believe that the Switch can run games that look this good. The gameplay is amazing. Obviously, we talked about that a little bit earlier with Side Order, and now we're here with the actual game itself. The single-player mode was phenomenal as well. The Splatfests are amazing. The new weapons, the new specials, the new sub-weapons, the new maps, everything about Splatoon 3, I love and adore. I am going to put it at the top. I love Splatoon so much, but I think I'm going to put it in between Wonder and Metroid Prime Remaster. It's amazing. I love this game. And Splatoon 4, honestly, could come within the next couple years, and I wouldn't be upset with that either. So, we're moving on. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, S tier. No questions about it. Probably the top of S tier. Xenoblade Chronicles 3. How do you even begin talking about a game like Xenoblade Chronicles 3? Monolith Soft, we know by now that they have helped Nintendo with some of their biggest and best projects. They make the most out of little hardware. And if you love JRPGs, even if you've never played a JRPG or an RPG in your entire life, the Xenoblade Chronicles series is the place to start, and you can tell in the tone of my voice how much, I mean business with this game. I love and adore Xenoblade Chronicles 3 so much. The story will leave you absolutely crying in your sleep, and man, it's phenomenal. It's one of the best games Nintendo has ever released. Moving on to Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Man, this game, I have an interesting background with this series because obviously back in 2017 when it got leaked and people were like, oh, this is so fake, the idea of a Mario + Rabbids game, and I was right there saying, it's fine. If it comes out, I'm sure it'll be okay, but it just seems so ridiculous. So then Kingdom Battle released, and I loved that game. So then when they announced Sparks of Hope, I was super excited to even have the series back. I didn't know if they would ever make a sequel to it, but I'm glad that they did, and I know a lot of people think this game is better than the original, but for whatever reason, it just did not click with me as much as the original did. And I have played the original game over 5 times. I have legitimately replayed that game 5+ times. So for me to have not even finished Sparks of Hope is so odd to me. And I'm gonna have to put it at the, it's a fine game. I'll put it over Luigi's Mansion 2, but below The Thousand Year Door. That seems right. Okay, moving on to Kirby and the Forgotten Land. My goodness, A tier for sure. This game, we're gonna put it right here. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, the first 3D Kirby game ever, and it just goes to show that if you make games in 3D, if you make platforming games, people will go buy it. It's the best-selling Kirby game in the series. The mechanics are great. The idea of just taking over, it's kind of like the Cappy mechanic. It's just Kirby. He takes over stuff and he can do whatever he wants with other enemy types and their abilities. It's such a phenomenal idea. I hope that they make another 3D game that really capitalizes on that idea even more. This game was so much fun, and it is definitely deserving of the A tier list. Then we have Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, another Warriors hack and slash type game. I loved a lot of the Warriors game on Switch. This game, I was surprised. I loved Three Houses so much. You'll see about that later. But this game did not click with me as much as a lot of the other ones did, especially for Warriors. I might have just been burnt out of those games at this time. Hyrule Warriors, I played the heck out of that game. I don't know. Maybe I just was sick of it because I don't know. It was odd, but I loved the character development of Byleth personally. Like in Fire Emblem Three Houses, that character was just kind of a blank slate for you, but in Three Hopes, they make Byleth to be such an incredibly cool character, and Shez is fine. I just enjoyed spending more time with those characters in this world, but I wish they would have done a just straight up sequel rather than a Warriors game. It's not a bad game, but I think I'm gonna have to put it in D tier, at the top of D tier, but it's fine for what it is. I just didn't enjoy it as much. Mario Strikers Battle League. The gameplay loop is phenomenal, and that's just the case with all of these Mario sports games. Like, oh, the core gameplay is great, but then there's nothing to do with it. Like, they don't give you any other modes, there's no single player in this. It's just either constant online or constant couch multiplayer, and for a lot of people, I'm sure that was amazing. I'm sure there are a lot of people who played couch multiplayer and just love this game, but I just wasn't a fan. I felt like there are a lot better Striker games in the past. They drip fed us other characters, other maps, other modes. They didn't even really add any other modes, so this was such a disappointing game. I will put it at the bottom of C tier. The mechanics are so good, I can't put it in D, but C is where it belongs, I think. Moving on to Nintendo Switch Sports. This game was really hated by a lot of people at launch, especially considering the idea of a Wii Sports or Wii Sports Resort having so many more modes, so many more games to play, and they obviously took the Miis out of this as well, so I think the internal hardcore Nintendo community at large was like, man, this is terrible, blah blah blah. But then the game went on to sell 13 million copies, and so I think it kind of didn't matter in the end. I played this game way more than I anticipated I would have. The gameplay loop was just really fun. I enjoyed switching around between the sports, and it was a good time. So I'm not going to act like it's one of the best games they've ever made, but I think it's certainly deserving of a B tier. I don't think that's too much of a stretch. Moving on to this Kirby Dream Buffet game. This was a fun little $20 eShop game that they released on Switch, and honestly, I think they should do more of these little games. Just take their IPs, make more little $20 little budget type games, and they do that with Kirby so often. I wish they would just do that with other games as well, but I know they try to preserve their IPs and make it to where if a game releases, you're gonna buy it, and it's that Nintendo seal of quality. So this was a fun game for what it is. I think it's C tier. I think we'll put it C tier. It's not as grandiose as some of the other games, so it belongs in the middle of C. Moving on to Pokemon Legends Arceus, another game obviously that I told you earlier I have not played, but Arceus I know is a phenomenal game with its ideas. The graphics obviously could use work. I'm sure the developers could do it if they actually had more time. Game Freak, once again, why do you crunch your employees to do this? Why are these games taking a year and a half to develop when you are the biggest franchise in the entire world? Give your developers more time. More people will buy it, I hope. Then, well, I would say that, but they sell amazingly anyway, so I guess there's no reason for them to change. So I'm just going to put it in B tier because I think it's a phenomenal concept. It could be better. I hope that ZA continues on in that series, making it better, looking better, all of the above. Then we are here with Brilliant Diamond and also Shining Pearl. I am going to put this... I'm going to put it in the bottom of D tier. It's just such a low effort remake. I don't think a lot of people enjoyed it. It was full price. That was the Pokemon game for that year, 2022, or no, 21 actually, excuse me, 2021. That was the holiday game for that year, and Pokemon will always sell well no matter what they put out, but these games, they're just not all that good looking, and the mechanics I'm sure are phenomenal. The gameplay itself, Pokemon is obviously addicting. People love just playing Pokemon, so I wish they would put more effort into these games. Moving on, Metroid Dread. I love Metroid Dread so much, and even the fact that this game exists at all is a miracle. The idea of earlier we had the Famicom Detective Club, Smiling Man, MEO, all that stuff. Nintendo truly has given some of their employees the benefit of the doubt and saying, hey, I have a vision for this game. It's going to be phenomenal. It may not sell super duper well, but it will sell well to that core audience that I am going for. Dread is another game that I wish had sold more. It didn't even hit 3 million, I don't think. It might have hit 3, but it's around that 2.9, 3 million line. And it's disappointing that it just doesn't sell well. This series doesn't sell well at large because it looks gorgeous. The Emio mechanic, the Emmy mechanic. I was like, wait a minute, Emio doesn't sound right. The Emmy mechanic. Funny how we have Emio and Emmy, but I think this was the same director that made Dread and Emio Smiling Man too, which is interesting. So the Emmys are a great mechanic. It makes this game feel like a horror game. Honestly, you are running from all of the Emmys, and it's a really well-designed game. My only critique is that all of the other Metroid games have phenomenal music, and this game's music is so forgettable. I could not tell you a single theme from it. It's just stereotypical, like, oh, it feels like the studio was like, oh, this is what Metroid is, right? It's just kind of like, no. It just wasn't that good to me. So the gameplay obviously makes this game deserving of A tier. Ah, man, where do I put this? I'm gonna put it above Metroid Prime Remaster. And yeah, I think that's where that goes. I'm pretty happy with this so far. I'll probably adjust it at the end, but this is going really well. Moving on to Mario Party Superstars, a phenomenal Mario Party game in its own right, but it was all based on old content, and so I was personally worried that Nintendo Cube would not be able to make a brand new game that was of similar caliber. The minigames were really great in this game as well. This is probably the best minigame type Mario Party game in the series, all of the variety and everything. I wish they had put a little bit more effort into Jamboree with the minigames, but Jamboree obviously was phenomenal. So I'm going to put Superstars in B tier. I will put it right above... I'll put it above Advance Wars. It's so great. That's funny, they're right below each other. I think it's a good Mario Party game, but Jamboree obviously is a tier above at least. Moving on, another WarioWare game, Get It Together. This was more motion control based, which is fine. Another game that just isn't for me. I'm not a big fan of the series. I think because of the motion controls, I'm going to put it at the top of F tier. I know I said earlier F tier is kind of reserved for just the bad games, but this is just a game that I would never pick up again, so I'm going to put it here just to help round out the tiers a little bit more. Zelda Skyward Sword HD. This is such an interesting game to rank. Obviously, considering all of the other Zelda games on Switch, there are a lot of other remakes HD type games. The only brand new Zelda games on the Switch are, I believe, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, and then Cadence of Hyrule, which is so crazy that we only got 3 original ones in the entire Switch lifespan. Oh, Echoes of Wisdom as well. So that's 4, but another interesting HD game to rank, similar to the Donkey Kong games earlier. And you know what? I think that's where it should go. I think I'm going to put it... if I put Advance Wars here... Oh man, this is really hard. Do I put it above? I think it's gonna, no matter what, it's gonna go above Donkey Kong. Should it be in the top of C or the bottom of B? I think I'm gonna put it bottom of B, above. I think I'm gonna put it above Advance Wars, and then I think Advance Wars is going to go down to here. Yeah, that feels right to me. I'm gonna move this up. I think it's a B tier game, Donkey Kong. Yeah. Okay, so back to Zelda. Skyward Sword is a phenomenal game. It was so linear, it had so many problems in it that made people of the time be like, we need a shakeup. And that's what led to Breath of the Wild. The developers heard the cries, it's too linear, blah blah blah. The story is phenomenal. I love Zelda and Link's relationship in this game. It's probably the best relationship in the series, outside of maybe Breath and Tears, but those games don't develop it through cutscenes and storyline. It's just more like you have to go find random notes and pick up stuff from the world, which is great in its own right, but Skyward Sword has a great story. They took the motion controls from the Wii, and you can obviously still play motion controls on the Switch, but they made it with stick controls to be a little bit more easy and accessible to play this game for people in the future, so it's just a good game all in all. I'm going to put it in the little bit of bottom B tier part. Next, we have Miitopia, which was so odd that they did this game over Tomodachi Life. It's a fine game. I don't have a ton to say about it. I think it's just not... It's like baby's first RPG, in my opinion. Like, it's fun because it's Mii themed, but if you took out the idea, I know it's Mii themed, so like, if I took out Mii's, it's just like there's no game. But if you made it like just other like generic characters rather than Mii's, I don't think anyone would ever care about this game. So Miitopia it's a fine game, but nothing to write home about. I'll put it at, I kind of want to round out the tiers a little bit more by making it D. So I'm going to put it at the top of D. It's not a bad game, but it's just I'd rather play Battle League. I'd rather play Scarlet and Violet, Engage. I think this is a good spot for it. Moving on to Mario Golf Super Rush. I put a lot of time into this game, and it's odd to me that I think it's probably my least favorite Mario sports game on the Switch. By the time Battle League came around, a lot of people were really burned out on Mario sports and just how similar they were, and scope and feel and everything, and it just feels super low effort, low budget. But obviously that core mechanic, it's fun, it's good. I just think they could have put a lot more effort into making this anything else other than just what it was. So I'm gonna put it right below Battle League. I think that's about where it belongs. Moving on to Game Builder Garage. I remember when this game first came out and a lot of people were excited about it, and no one talks about it anymore, but it's still a very cool concept. A lot of people who maybe have kids who want to be engineers or have been really smart and creative would really enjoy this game. You can essentially make your own game in this. It's the same as, I believe PlayStation's Dreams came out 5 years ago at this point. So yeah, it's similar to that. It's a very fun game. Nothing to write home about. I think another C tier game. It's fine there. Moving on to Pokemon Snap. This game was gorgeous. This game is one of the only Pokemon games that I've ever looked at and thought, wow, it's phenomenal. And of course, it's easier to do that when you're on this rail system and you can kind of let everything load in. And it's like Luigi's Mansion 3 in a way, because it's like the game looks so impossibly good, but only because it works within the confines of its own little box, so it can make the best of every little bit in the game because it's so small. Pokemon Snap is a phenomenal game for what it is. I'll put it at the top. I couldn't. It's not a bad game. I think I'm going to put it a little bit above. I'm going to put it above Garage and then above Dream Buffet. Yeah, that seems right. Okay, moving on to the other Famicom Detective Club games. I'm going to put these in B tier. I think these are very solid. Whoa, that's Mario Kart. How did we get that? I'm going to put these in B tier. These are very solid games. Obviously, the storyline is what you're looking for these visual novel games, obviously on for everybody. And on the Switch, they are a lot different than you would expect. But I enjoyed the storyline. It was fun. So Famicom Detective Club goes in B. Moving on. Oh boy. Okay. I'm going to rank this backwards. I'm going to start with 3D World, and it's S tier, in my opinion. I am unapologetic in that 3D World released on the Wii U back in 2015, I believe. It could have been 14, maybe even 13. I don't know. But on the Wii U, this game initially came out, and it was really not well received. When it first launched, people loved it, and then over time it kind of soured just because it was the same thing with Skyward Sword, really, where the formula was starting to get stale. We had 3D Land on the 3DS, and this obviously was a much bigger and better version of that game. But for it to be the first HD 3D Mario game ever, it was disappointing to a lot of people. The music is amazing, and on Switch, I think after Odyssey, it is so much more acceptable to a lot of people, and I have played this game over and over and over again. It is absolutely worthy of an S tier game. Moving on to Bowser's Fury. I have soured on this a little bit over time. It's a phenomenal game. I'm not gonna put it anywhere other than A tier here, but I think a lot of people overhype the idea of open world Mario. I think it should really just stick to the sandbox style that Odyssey really perfected. And obviously they're going to do what they want, and they've been working on it for a really, really long time, whatever the new 3D Mario game is. I know it's going to be great, but I just hope it doesn't go in the Bowser's Fury direction. For what it is, it's great. I really enjoyed it. It's a great game, and I'm going to put it at the bottom of A tier because of that. Then, moving on to Big Brain Academy. This is a really fun game for me because I played Big Brain a lot on the Wii, and just to have this on the Switch is a really fun opportunity. I'm going to put it at the bottom of C tier. It's just really fun. It's good for kids. It's good for learning. It's just something that you can play, and it's a good on-the-go kind of game where you're just going to put in a little bit of time here and there, and it's just fun. I enjoy this game. Moving on to Hyrule Warriors. We're in 2020 now. Age of Calamity. I really, really love this game. I'm going to put it in A tier, right? Should I put it in A tier? Bottom of A tier, top. It's in that top A, bottom of B, or backwards, top of B, bottom A. I think it goes here. I'll put it here for now. I might move it later, but this is a phenomenal installment. I was starved for more Breath of the Wild content at the time, and so was a lot of other people. So I put over 100 hours into this game easily just to get more of that storyline, and the twist at the end was obviously really fun as well. So the hack and slash game was so much fun. You never knew what was coming. The story was great. I enjoyed every second of it. Obviously, the graphics could have been a little bit better, but for what it is, it's fine, and I really enjoy the game. So A tier is where it belongs. Moving on to Mario 3D All-Stars. This is still a weird game to this day. 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy, but not Galaxy 2, especially considering the initial Super Mario All-Stars had 4 2D games in it. It's weird that this doesn't have 4 3D games in it, but you know, it's fine. A lot of people had a big stink about this, especially considering the price tag. It was a full price game, and then it was a limited edition game. 2020 was a lot of weird limited edition stuff that was like for the celebration of the Mario 35 anniversary. But still, I mean, I can't help but say, a game that has all of these 3D Mario games doesn't deserve to be any lower than A tier. Like, I'm going to put it at the bottom because I know, objectively speaking, a lot of people don't like the limited edition stuff, but having 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy on the console in HD, you can play it anywhere you want. Like, it's just too good. $20 for each of these games, I would happily pay for that. And if they were ever to do like a remake of any of these games and they did it for $20, people would go crazy for it. So I know it was kind of a low effort compilation of games here, but these games are so good that just up-resing them is fine for me, and I enjoyed it very much. So A tier is where it goes. Moving on to Pikmin 3 Deluxe. This game is not as good as 4, obviously. I don't think it's as good as 1, in my opinion. I think it's a B tier game. I think I'm going to put it right below Smiling Man and above Switch Sports. It is a great game. I loved having it on the Wii U. I loved having it on the Switch. The deluxe version makes this game so much better. It increases the difficulty for you if you want that. The graphics look better, obviously. It added a whole extra story mode, which was so much effort that they did not have to do. That was amazing. So B tier is where it belongs. Moving on, Worldwide Classics, 51 games. You know, it's fine. It is what it is. I'll put it in. I'll put it right above the sports games. I think it's good for what you want. And a lot of people are going to know exactly what they're getting into when they pay for this. That's a lot of games in one. 51 games, that's a lot of games. So moving on to Paper Mario, the Origami King. Oh, this is fascinating. I loved the game when it came out. I don't think after playing Thousand Year Door, my opinion has changed that much on it. I know with, I think if you go watch Arlo's review of this game, you'll see why a lot of people might criticize the game. But, and I do see that line, like they're banging their heads against that line of creativity here. But for what it is, I truly couldn't help but enjoy it. It was a phenomenal game. And I honestly think I enjoyed it a little bit more than Thousand Year Door. So I'm going to put it at the top of C tier. I think that's fine. I think the top of C tier is where it goes. So that's where I'm going to put it. Xenoblade Chronicles, another banger. We're going to put it in A tier. I'm going to put it right above. I'm going to put it above Dread. I'm going to put it that high. I love Xenoblade Chronicles. These games are phenomenal. This is the first game in the series, a definitive edition. It adds story to the end of it. So if you want to get started, this is where you should start. A lot of people think this game is one of the best. I think 3 is obviously the best. I put it at the top of this list so far. I think definitive edition is the place to start though. So if you're looking to get into the series, don't be afraid to pick this up on sale somewhere or just full price. It's still worth it. So it's tons of content. You're going to get hundreds of hours out of this if you so choose. It's amazing. Jump Rope Challenge. I thought this was a cute little game. It did exactly what it set out to do. I'm going to put it at the top of D tier. I'll put it right here. I'll put it in D tier. It's a fun game, but obviously it's just the Jump Rope Challenge that they made, and they just were going stir crazy back in COVID, and they helped us get moving a little bit, so that was cute of them. I loved it. I'm glad that they made it. I'm glad that it's here, but obviously compared to a lot of these other games, it's going to have to stay in D tier. Moving on, Super Mario Bros. 35. This is a fun game, an example of a game where if you just would have kept supporting it, I think people would have really enjoyed it a lot more. I'm going to put it in the bottom of C tier, right above Dream Buffet. Yeah, right above Dream Buffet. It's a good game. I think that they could have done more with it. They could have supported it longer. I think people would still play it to this day if they had kept it, and they really could fix it at any time. They could bring it back to the eShop literally at any moment, and it just would be fixed. But no, they're choosing not to do that, so it is what it is, but this is where it's going to stay. Moving on, Home Circuit, Mario Kart Live. I don't know what to do with this game, man. I enjoy it for what it is, but compared to all these other games, I'm going to have to put it in F tier. Which is so sad because it's such a cool concept, but it's just not comparable to a lot of these other games, so I'm going to put it in F. to help round out the tiers. Animal Crossing New Horizons. This is our next S tier game. I'm going to put it in the bottom of S tier. Animal Crossing New Horizons. A lot of Animal Crossing fans I've heard have said this isn't even the best Animal Crossing game in the series, which is kind of disappointing to hear, but I've never played an Animal Crossing game before this, so this was my first introduction to the series, and graphically speaking, it's amazing. It got me and a lot of other people through some really, really rough times in 2020. I adore this game. You've probably heard a lot of people gloat about it, so I'm just going to keep it here, and you know why. Moving on, Mario and Sonic in the Olympics game. Oh man, this is a big what could have been type game. I'm going to put it in the top of F. It's fine, but a lot of the other Olympic games in the past were so much more fun and better, and this game just wasn't as good as it could have been, and it was probably the last Olympic Games ever between Mario and Sonic, so sad to see it go out like this. Moving on, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Man, the wild area in this game, I know a lot of people talked about, oh, we should make a whole game like this, and then they did Arceus, and that was fun. The graphics weren't that good. It was the first Pokemon game on Switch, so that's something, but I am just so disappointed at the graphics of these games. They could be so much better. They could play better. It could be a lot better. Bottom of C tier. Moving on to Luigi's Mansion 3. I adore Luigi's Mansion 3. S tier. This game is so amazing. I did a whole video why I believe this game is special, so I won't rant about it here. Go check that video out. Luigi's Mansion 3 is to die for. Literally, all those ghosts. So, moving on to Astral Chain. This was a Platinum Games game, I believe, so I'm going to put it not ranking. That was my mistake. Moving on to Link's Awakening HD. I love this game. It is a B tier game for sure. I will put it right below Mario RPG and right above Echoes of Wisdom. I adore Link's Awakening. I played it once and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't figure this out. So I had to look it up a little bit. But once I started to figure it out and just saw the vision behind it and the story, I adored it even more. The same art style in Echoes of Wisdom, they kind of took it from this game. And it's much less complicated than Echoes of Wisdom is. The story, I believe, is better overall. The characters are better. The music, I think, is better. So I'm just going to put that right above Echoes of Wisdom. It's a fine game. Both of them are. But I just like Link's Awakening more. Moving on, Labo VR. I am going to have a much higher opinion of Labo than a lot of people. I played Labo VR for a little bit. It's probably the worst of the Labo games that they put out, so I'm going to put it in D tier. But Labo is such an amazing concept. I super duper enjoyed creating all of them when they came out. I literally bought all of them, so D tier because, objectively speaking, come on, a lot of these other games are going to be better, but I enjoyed Labo, so you'll hear more about that later. Ring Fit Adventure. This game really came out of nowhere, didn't it? I'm going to put it, B tier, right below Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. It sold like bananas. This game really sold well. Nintendo probably was shocked by that, but every generation, it seems, they have some blue ocean game that just sells crazy, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. So that's why they continue to do crazy, wacky stuff like this, because they never know when it's going to be a success. And Ring Fit Adventure truly was a success. They'll probably do a follow-up to it on the Switch too, and I'm excited to see that. It was a great game. Cadence of Hyrule. This is the definition, in my opinion, of a B tier game. I'm going to put it right below Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I had never played a rhythm game before this, and so it was really, really hard for me to get into it because my brain just couldn't wrap around the idea of rhythm and just getting it right. But once I finally replayed it for the fourth time, trying to start it over and over again, I truly understood. It clicked with me, and it was a really fun game. I hope Nintendo finds indie studios that they trust more and gives their games to them. Could you imagine a 2D Metroid game made by Team Cherry? That would be amazing. Come on. So this is a good idea for Nintendo to continue to do more stuff like this, and it really goes to show if you have a pitch and you pitch it to them and they believe in your idea, just do it. To all you indie developers, all you developers of other studios, take heart in knowing that this could be you. Moving on to Mario Maker 2. Oh man, this game really took Mario Maker and made it 10 times better, and I think a lot of people were kind of disappointed by it, and it didn't sell as well as I really thought it would, because Wii U, Mario Maker 1, truly blew up all over the place. This game did not blow up in that way. but I think it made the game way better than 1. And then obviously the Wii U gamepad was such a big part of Splatoon. The Wii U gamepad was such a big part of Mario Maker 1, and so for them to not have it for the Switch edition, and in handheld mode, obviously you could make levels with your little stylus or with your finger, but like when you were sitting at home on your couch with your Pro Controller, it was really hard to make levels, and it was really hard to do all this other stuff, so I think people were disappointed by it, but it's a phenomenal game. I'm going to put it in the bottom of A tier. Moving on, Tetris 99. I am not a big fan of Tetris, but I know a lot of people love this game, and it's a great game, so I'm going to put it in the bottom of A tier as well. Fire Emblem Three Houses, S tier game. I adore this game for reasons I talked about a little bit earlier with Three Hopes. The storyline is phenomenal. Playing this game over and over and over again with different houses, different characters, getting to know different people, boosting your affinity with them. The story is amazing. The combat is amazing. If only the graphics weren't so dang bad. Like, this game looks horrible, but it plays well. The story is amazing, and I think it proves that you don't have to have good graphics to have one of the best games ever made. Moving on to Yoshi's Crafted World. Man, a lot of people were hoping for better, especially after Woolly World was so beloved, but this game just wasn't all that. So I think it's a fine game. Probably better than... No, I'm going to put it below Snap. C tier. It's a fine game. U Deluxe. This game also sold incredibly well. You know, I think after we had Wonder, this game is a little bit easier to swallow. It was the first 2D game on the Switch, and they knew they had to hurry up and get one out. It was like the first game that released in 2019. It came out January of that year, so they just wanted to hurry up and get a 2D Mario game on the Switch as soon as possible, and it paid dividends for them. Congrats to Nintendo for being strategic in that. You know, it's a fine game, but after all the new Soup games on DS and 3DS and Wii and just everything else, we were so tired of the idea of having more new Soup games. Oh man, this game, it's fine. After Wonder, like I said, it's easier to swallow. I'll put it in C tier. I'll put it right above... I'll put it right below Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Moving on to 2018, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna Golden Edition, I believe it's called. I love Torna so much. I love Xenoblade. I love Xenoblade 2 more than a lot of people do. I'm going to put this in A tier as well. I think I'm going to put it below Pikmin 1. I'll put Bowser's Fury above it. I love Torna. Its story was phenomenal. The music was amazing. Every Xenoblade game, DLC, no matter what it is, if it has Xenoblade on it, the music is going to be phenomenal. I adore this game, what it has to offer, the storyline. It tells you a little bit more about Mythra, how she ended up how she did. It's a very tragic ending. Do not play this game if you are very sensitive to sad stories, or probably any of the Xenoblade games, to be honest, because their stories will punch you in the gut and it will feel like a truck hit you. But this was an amazing prequel to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I'm glad that they made it. Moving on to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's S tier, and I think I'm going to have to put it above 3D World. S tier, phenomenal game. Best Smash Bros. Game ever made, in my opinion. It has the speed of Melee. It has the the single player experience that Brawl offers. It has the characters of Wii U. It has the heart and originality of the 64 version. It's truly the ultimate Smash Brothers game. You know all about this game already, how amazing it is. The DLC, it truly added so many characters no one would ever expect, and I cannot wait to see where the series goes from here, because how does it get better than Ultimate? I have no idea, but I believe in Sakurai and I believe in Nintendo to make another game that is at least as good as Ultimate. Moving on, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. I'm going to put it... it's not as bad as some of these other D tier games. I'll put it above Labo. I'd say it's the top of D. It's fine. This was actually the first Pokemon game on Switch, I believe. This released... Yeah, I said Sword and Shield War. No, this was the first Pokemon game on Switch. It was good because the Switch really needed a Pokemon game, and it was a remix of the very first games, but it just forced you to use that one controller, and then it had that really cool like Pokemon controller that they released. I think a lot of people would have appreciated it more if they also offered standard controllers, but they didn't, so it is what it is. Moving on, Super Mario Party. I think it's the worst Mario Party on Switch. The characters are cool, the graphics look amazing, but I don't think it's any better than Superstars or Jamboree. I don't think it's in the same tier as Superstars, to be honest. I know a lot of people love this game and it sold like bananas, but I'll put it above Engage. I'll put it above Pikmin 2. It's a fine game. Moving on to Splatoon 2 Octo Expansion. The vibes are immaculate in this game. I still listen to the soundtrack of Octo Expansion. The storyline is phenomenal. It's probably still the best story any Splatoon game has ever told. I love Octo Expansion. It goes... I love Side Order too, man. I think... Here's the thing. Here's what I'm struggling with. I think the gameplay of Side Order is better than Octo Expansion, but I think the level design and story of Octo Expansion is better than Side Order. So for now, I'm going to keep it like this. I think they're back to back. I think they're truly neck and neck. Labo. Let's talk about Labo. I think the Robot Kit is probably the worst of the series. I'm going to put it right below the VR. I think the Variety Kit, the very first one, is a C tier. Right here. It's so much fun to make these, but then this one genuinely is B tier. I am not even kidding. B tier. I loved this vehicle one. It was so much fun. I adored creating it and playing in it like it was an open world game, and you could fly and you could drive and you had to get gas and you could go underwater, and like it was so much fun. This was the best Labo kit by far. I had loved it. Now, moving on to Hyrule Warriors, I think it wasn't as good as Age of Calamity, although it has probably more content than Age of Calamity. I'm going to put it right above Advance Wars. It's a fine game, but not better than Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, in my opinion. Better for the people who didn't like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, though, probably. Now moving on to Tropical Freeze. This is so hard. So, I think Tropical Freeze, I haven't finished Returns HD yet, but I think the level design is so amazing that you just have to put this game in A tier. Where should it go in A tier though? Let's put it bottom of A tier. I think that's fine. It's a great game. I think it's probably a little bit better than Returns because I could see so many concepts in Returns already just halfway through this game that they really refined in Tropical Freeze. So I'm going to say Tropical Freeze is better because of the music and because of the level design, and you get more characters like Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and Cranky instead of just Diddy. So that was a really cool game that I'm glad they put it on Switch. I'll put it above Tetris 99. I enjoyed that game a lot. Moving on to, Kirby Star Allies. This game, you know what? I am not ashamed to put it at the top of F tier. The content was horrible. They added a lot more later, but when it released, it was just so sour that nobody enjoyed it. Nobody liked it. It was bad. I have no shame putting it in F tier. Moving on, Tennis Aces. I don't care what y'all say. I don't care what y'all say. I'm putting it bottom of A. I know this is crazy considering the placement of my other Mario sports games, like right down here with Golf and Strikers. But I love tennis, Mario Tennis. Like, the gameplay really clicks with me. And you are going to call me crazy, but I put over 100 hours in Tennis Aces, so this game really refined the series to its core. I played online matches over and over and over again. I understand the content wasn't that good. There's some objectivity here that's pulling me down. You know what? Because of that objectivity, I'll even put it in B. I'll help y'all out a little bit. I love Tennis Aces. I know the Zelda fans are going to kill me here, but Link's Awakening is probably better. Yeah. Wow. Well, the more I look at this, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can hear the comments now. So, yeah. I'll put it above 3. Did I enjoy it more than Echoes of Wisdom? Zelda fans are killing me here. I'll keep it here. I'll keep it here for the sake of y'all. Because I know I would get crucified in the comments if I put it above Echoes of Wisdom. So I'll leave it here. But I loved Tennis Aces, and I hope the first Mario sports game is another tennis game. Moving on. Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, the last 2018 game. It's fine for what it is. Another B-tier game in my opinion. The storyline is decent. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the level design is where it's at. They added in Mario Odyssey levels and took out the 3D world levels, which was so weird for the Switch version. Like, I don't know why they didn't just keep all of them, but hey, the Odyssey levels were fun. This was a fun game to play through. I finished it totally to completion. I think I even 100%ed it, so a very, very fun game. 2017, the best year of the Switch, probably in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinions as well. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I gotta put it A tier. I think I'm gonna put it right. I love the story of this game. I know the character designs aren't that good, but the story, the gameplay, I adore. I'm going to put it right below... Yeah, below Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That's hard. They're neck and neck. Like if I didn't have to choose, I wouldn't. But they're neck and neck. So let's just go with that. The music obviously is amazing. You don't need me to tell you that. The level, like the open world, it's not open world, but like the level, I don't know how to describe it. The worlds that you go to are so gargantuan, these titans that you are on. It's crazy, and it's so much fun. I know a lot of people talk about the gacha mechanics as reasons against this game, but it's truly not that bad. Like, really, you don't have to worry about that as much. I was worried about it going into the game, and it just wasn't a big deal. Like, you hardly have to use it, so it is what it is. Moving on to Mario Odyssey, the next S-tier game. I will put that above Smash, below Tears. I adore Mario Odyssey. This game is so much fun. I really was one of those people that was clamoring for an Odyssey 2, and I'm shocked they didn't do that. Like, they really just kind of left us hanging this generation with 3D Mario. We had Mario Odyssey, then they obviously ported 3D World and gave us Bowser's Fury, but that surely isn't what they've been working on. I am so curious to see what have they been working on. And as you know, probably, this list has changed. I did a top, I believe, 10 or 15 list of my Switch games. It's changed since then. I would put Pikmin 4 above Tears and Odyssey now. So that is interesting to see how that changed in such a short amount of time. Moving on, Fire Emblem Warriors, it's fine. Definition of a C tier game for me. I'm going to put it above, this feels right here. Above Strikers, below 51 Worldwide Classics. Finally, Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I adore these games, like I talked about earlier. I think this is an A tier game, and y'all might call me crazy for that, but I truly just think it is. So, I'll put it above Torna, but below Bowser's Fury. I adored this game because the strategy was so much fun. I loved the grid-based, turn-based actual gameplay. Like, you could do so much in one turn, and it felt like you had a lot of control, and it always felt like if you really lost or just really got beat, like it was your fault, and that is so much fun. Having these characters are crazy, like the Rabbids. I did not anticipate like really liking these characters, but you can really tell the game was made with so much love for the Mario series, and that oozed out into the rest of the game, and I just enjoyed it so much. I played it over and over and over again the year the Switch launched. Moving on to the DLC of that game, I'm going to put it right below it. It's so much fun. DK was a great addition. I loved the cranky rabbit. I loved the gameplay that had. It almost felt OP to have Donkey Kong in this game because he could do so much. But honestly, sometimes having an OP character in a game you just love playing over and over again in the loop, it's just fun. Like, just having a fun character where you know you're pretty much always going to win, but hey, I enjoyed my time with it. Splatoon 2. This is difficult because Splatoon 3 I think is better in every way, but I don't want to like just act like this game is trash. So I think it's probably, I enjoyed Octo Expansion. I enjoyed Octo Expansion more. I probably enjoyed Pikmin 1 more, Bowser's Fury more. I'll put it, let me see where this feels right. I'll put it right here. I'll put it right here, bottom of A. Funny, right below Splatoon 2. Octo Expansion. I'll put it right there. It seems right there. The game is amazing for every reason I gave earlier for Splatoon 3. Similarly here, and the dualies, the really just the funkiness of it at the time was something that Nintendo really needed just to branch out new IPs. So I super duper enjoyed this game. Moving on to ARMS. Oh man, y'all gotta stop me from putting this game in A tier because I loved ARMS, but I can't say it's more than a B tier game. Come on now. I'll put it right above. I'll put it right above Cadence of Hyrule. I truly did adore ARMS. It was a great game. It sold pretty well too. I don't know why they didn't make a sequel to it or keep updating it, but it was a really fun game. I know a lot of people won't agree, so I'll just move on. Pokemon DX. It was fine for what it was. I'll say C tier. I really don't have a lot to say about that. Wow. Moving on to Sniper Clips, one of the launch games. It was so much fun. I'll put it B tier. I think it belongs in B tier. It was a great game. Co-op was so much fun. I enjoyed playing it over and over again with friends. And it was a cute game that I hope they have something similar to it on the launch of the Switch 2 that really makes use of that hardware and the idea of just playing together. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. S tier. I'll put it right above Pikmin 4, below Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I think 3 is probably my favorite in the series. or the entire console actually now. 8 Deluxe is phenomenal. I don't know how you get better than 8 Deluxe. Graphically, it looks amazing. Gameplay-wise, it's refined to its absolute core. Like, even the core itself, they took it and they polished it, and it looks so gorgeous. I love this game so much. The DLC added way more tracks to make it more interesting. I just truly adore this game. It doesn't get much better than this, so I really am interested to see what they do with this new Mario Kart. Finally, we get to Breath of the Wild, and come on. I love Xenoblade 3. I love all these other games, but Breath of the Wild is special. It will never hit. There will never be another game, I believe, that will hit like Breath of the Wild hit me. I have played this game more probably than any other game ever, and that says a lot because this game is huge. It's massive. The story, I think, is way better than people give it credit for. The gameplay was revolutionary. The open world it just permanently changed the gaming landscape forever. Forever. People will never be the same after playing this and experiencing it. Developers have taken so much influence to this game and applied it in their own games. It's phenomenal. I adore Breath of the Wild. And then finally, the best game obviously ever made, Switch 1-2 Switch. Obviously I just love this game. The Switch 2 will never surpass this game. No, this game obviously belongs in... let's round this out a little bit. We'll put an F. Big old fat F to make the F tier look a little bit bigger, better. So that is it. This is my ranking of every single first-party Nintendo Switch game. I want to know down below, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is crazy? Like, what game would you have put way higher? Let me look over this real quick, make sure I don't think anything needs to change. Pokemon DX. Is there anything egregious? That's what I'm looking for. Is there anything I'm just like, no, this has to be over this? I'm really happy with C tier. B tier is pretty good. I like this. I like that. I like that. Pokemon Switch Sports. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move Switch Sports to here. I think that's better. Cadence of Hyrule, ARMS, Pikmin 3, Mario Tennis. That's so funny. Echoes of Wisdom, MEO, RPG, Link's Awakening. Yeah, that's good. Tetris 99, Splatoon. These are really good. I think I did well. Xenoblade 3. Do I want to move that up? No, I think it's fine where it is. I think I enjoyed the Splatoon DLCs more than this. Jamboree's phenomenal. I think that's fine. You know what? I'm gonna move it up. Kirby goes down one. Sorry. Metroid, they belong together. Xenoblade. This is good. This is really good. And then these are my top Switch games: Fire Emblem, Luigi's Mansion 3, Animal Crossing, 3D World, Smash Ultimate, Odyssey, Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4, 8 Deluxe, Xenoblade 3, and Breath of the Wild. So yeah, that was my ranking. That was probably my biggest video ever. My voice is so tired of talking. This is going to be a beast to go through and edit, but I hope you appreciated it and enjoyed it to the very last minute. Thank you so much once again for watching my longest video ever to the very end. Make sure you like and subscribe today's video if you enjoyed the content. Click the notification bell to know exactly when my videos release, and consider joining my membership program just to get early access to videos just like this one. So once again, I will thank you for being amazing and making it through this hour-long beast of a video. Click on the left video. YouTube seems to think that you will really like that one, or click on the right playlist going through all of the reviews and game discussions I have had on this channel. My name is Ray, this has been Ray's Nintendo Talk, and I will see you beautiful people in the next video, so make sure you have a great day.